Welcome to the Count Mackular Show. I am Count Mackular. In this episode, I'm going to do a movie review on the movie Tower Heist, starring Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy. I struggled back and forth between whether I was going to give this a good review or a negative review, and I'm going to have to go with a negative review, as in don't go see it. It's not a horrible movie, but I definitely wouldn't waste a day at the movies with the bad economy we have and how expensive movies have gotten, at least in the major cities in America. I wouldn't spend a day to go see this. Once again, it wasn't a horrible movie, but being that I'm a fan of Eddie Murphy, he's probably going to go down in history as the top 5, definitely in the top 5 of greatest comedians of all time. My expectation level for him is always very high. So he's been doing a lot of really off and on bad movies lately. I say the last 10 of his movies, at least 8 out of the 10 were really bad. And being that I'm such a fan of his, especially his earlier stand-up work, he had the 2 greatest stand-ups, some of the greatest stand-ups of all time, as in Delirious and Raw. They're just legendary work. I'm such a fan of his, that, and then also Coming to America, which is definitely one of in the top 10 of funniest movies of all time. Classic movie that when he puts out a movie, I'm just hoping that he just somehow captures that old Eddie Murphy humor again, but once again he failed again in this one. I was hoping that, being that the cast was an ensemble cast, that maybe he'll find his way of not having pressure on him to where he can be funny again, but it didn't work. You had Ben Stiller, Matthew Broderick, Casey Affleck, brother of Ben Affleck, and Eddie Murphy. So maybe amongst those characters that he would be funny again, but he wasn't. The movie's about sort of like a Bernie Madoff situation, where you got this very wealthy old man swindling a lot of people as far as getting them to invest in money and then stealing it from them. And they seek revenge against him by heisting something valuable for him. I won't give it away, but that's basically the premise, which is a decent premise. It keeps up with the times, but once again, if that movie without Eddie Murphy, it just would seem like a movie that I wouldn't even bother to go check out, just something maybe you'll catch on Netflix or something. But being that Eddie Murphy was in it, it's like, okay, I'll go check it out, and hopefully maybe he'll be funny. To get to the cut to the chase of why Eddie Murphy wasn't funny in this film is for the reason he hasn't been funny in a lot of his films. I think he's sort of lost touch with what made Eddie Murphy funny to begin with. I think when you're a young comedian, you have that hunger and drive, and you're very quick-witted, and he's close to what that stand-up world, which is where your brain has to be constantly in the moment. And I feel like Eddie Murphy hasn't done stand-up in like 25 years or more, so he lost touch with that immediate way of being funny. One thing that really stuck out as to why Eddie Murphy wasn't funny in this movie is because he's constantly playing a caricature of himself. Meaning, the best way I can describe it is Eddie Murphy does the voice of Donkey in the Shrek movies, and if you just listen to his voice, which fits for the character, that's a great character. It's a animated film, CGI animated film, so it works with the Donkey character. But he takes that voice and he just does that donkey voice through the whole movie. So it's just him being a caricature of some type of voice he uses, and he just stays firm to that voice. He doesn't have any range. If you watch his earlier movies like 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop and Boomerang, he's more of himself, and he's being funny as himself. Where he's sticking in the movie Tower Heist, he's sticking to this caricature of this 70s type of voice, the 70s street lingo, and he's just sticking to that, and it's not like he's being naturally funny. I felt like they missed a lot of opportunities for him to be funny. Like they used a very old 80s Eddie Murphy motif in films where he's always getting bailed out in jail, like the movie Trading Places, which is another brilliant work of Eddie Murphy's, where he's in jail and you have the brothers Duke in the movie Trading Places, these two rich billionaires come to bail him out for their little scheme and their little purpose. But in that jail scene, it's like the pure comedy. He's interacting with the inmates, and it's just funny. And then in 48 Hours, he's also getting bailed out for this cops agenda, and he's singing the Police, Roxanne. Obviously, he's doing an impression of Sting from the Police, which is another classic moment. And in this film, once again, Eddie Murphy's in jail, and they're bailing him out for their purpose, but they don't go anywhere. They don't show him interacting with any of the inmates. They go in, they find him in jail, they say, "We'll bail you out," he just walks out. And I felt like they just missed a funny moment right there for him to really, stretch his comedic muscles. So there's no place in this movie where Eddie Murphy shines, and like I said, that was the reason for me to watch this movie, to see Eddie Murphy maybe get back into the old way, but it's not there. So overall, if you want to see the movie, I suggest you wait on Netflix. It's a movie that I got fooled. I thought it was going to just be pure comedy. I thought I'd be laughing from beginning to end, but it's more interesting just to watch, to see them go through with the heist, and there's nothing funny. Like Matthew Broderick is not funny. Ben Stiller, he's even funny in a lot of his movies. I think it seemed like he was waiting for Eddie Murphy to be funny, so he wouldn't. It seems like in the movie he didn't want to step on Eddie Murphy's toes, so he's like waiting for letting Eddie get all the lines, and he's being the straight man. So he's being held back by Eddie Murphy's being the funny man, and he playing the straight man, but then Eddie Murphy's not funny, so it defeats him being a straight man. So it's just not funny at all. But if you want to look at it from the point of view of, alright, this is a heist movie, and you'll look at it from that point of view, then maybe you'll get some entertainment out of it. But I definitely would not recommend it. It was a disappointment. As being an Eddie Murphy fan, that's the only reason, like I said, why I saw it. But hopefully, Eddie Murphy is going to host the Oscars. And from watching that movie, I was excited a little bit at first, but from seeing that movie, I don't think Eddie Murphy is probably going to do a good job as an Oscar host. Hopefully, maybe that Oscar Awards will surprise me. He'll be good, and maybe it'll inspire him to go back to stand-up, where I think that's where he should start over. He should start his career again, is going into training, doing the small little club gigs, and then maybe coming out with a stand-up movie where he can get back to his roots, because I think he's lost touch with a lot of what made him funny from the start of his career. So one little side note, Heavy D played a little cameo role. He has 3 lines in the movie, and he just passed away today. So so rest in peace, Heavy D. I just noticed in the film, like, oh, Heavy D is in the movie, and then I hear he just died. So it was like that was his swan song. So something I noticed in the movie. So rest in peace to Heavy D, a rapper from the 90s. But take your chances on Tower Heist. I wouldn't recommend you go see it. You may find value on it as just a heist movie to watch on Netflix, but it's not something I would go pay to see. Another disappointing Eddie Murphy movie. He's just doing the donkey character from Shrek throughout the movie. It's like the donkey from Shrek came to life and became some guy that's involved in a tower heist. That's basically it. So that's another Count Mackular movie review. Until next time, have a good night.